Welcome, third graders, to Home Learning Day 33, May 14th, 2020. Boys and girls, there's the assignments for today. Of course, you're watching this video. Complete and correct 7-4 in your math. Religion, we're almost all finished with our praying hands. And then, of course, continuing to read chapters 6 and 7 in Seeds Behind Trees and answering the questions. Boys and girls, today we are going to compare fractions. Let's do a little review before we go too far. Now, remember, this is our greater than sign. We read it from left to right as greater than. When we read from left to right, this sign right here is the less than sign. This is a review. It goes with the alligator cheer or the bird cheer. Boys and girls, I think you're going to like today's assignment. It will probably clarify a lot for you. Because look at this. Ooh, yeah, I love fraction tiles. They really help clarify things in students' minds. But there's a problem with this these fraction tiles. They need some color. We'll go see if I can find that sidewalk chalk. All right, boys and girls, that looks much better. I would suggest that you get some colored pencils or some chalk and lightly color these. It makes it more fun, and then you spend time thinking about each fraction as you color it, and it looks cool too. Boys and girls, let's take a moment to discuss what we have here. We basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 whole bars. Each one is a bar. You can think of them as a candy bar if you would like. I'm going to try to stop thinking about those candy bars that we had yesterday because I ate too many of those quarters and I did not feel so well afterwards. No lying. I did not feel so well. So anyways, but it was a sacrifice I had to make yesterday for your learning. This one right here, that's an example of a hole. See, that's one hole. And then as we go down, they're broken into tiles. Okay? You see an example of half there. So there's two halves. 1, 2 is the same size as one hole. So each one of these bars is the same size, but they're broken down to different fractional units. And you can take this sheet to help you compare. Now hold on to this because you're going to do some comparing tomorrow also, and I don't think they provide this on that sheet. So let's see if we can try some out. Let's take a look at some of these directions, boys and girls. Here it says, use the diagram, write less than or greater than to compare the unit fractions. So let's look at our first one here, number 1. 1/3 is what to 1/7? So let's go to our tiles and compare. Let's find 1/3. How does that compare to 1/7? That 1/7 looks a lot smaller than 1/3. 1/3 looks much bigger than 1/7. Okay, so what are we going to say? We're going to go over here and we're going to say 1/3 is greater than 1/7. Very good. Now we're going to write our greater than symbol right in there. You know what, boys and girls? It's so beautiful outside right now. Let's head out of the home learning studios out to the home learning front yard sidewalk. Wow, it does look like it's a beautiful day. Okay, let's head out there to that home learning sidewalk. Okay, let's check things out. Oh boy, that mulch is still looking good. Boy, that was a fun lesson on area. Ooh, look at Mrs. Hickey. She's all set to go to plant some flowers. There's probably a couple lessons in there too. So let's check out our sidewalk. It needs some color. Oh boy, look at that. The rain washed away our geometry work. Okay, well, it's time to get to some fraction comparing now. All right, I have my ball cap on and my sunscreen, and it's a good idea to have something to hold your sheet down, boys and girls. So let's get to it. So 1/3 is what to 1/7? Now we already checked that out on our sheet. Let's take another quick look. And we decided that it was greater than. So let's put our greater than symbol in here. So that big alligator mouth is eating up that 1/3. Let's try another one. Boys and girls, let's check out a fraction we really haven't looked at a lot. Let's compare 1/5 to 1/2. So let's go over to our picture here and find 1/5. See how big that is? And then 1/2. See how big that is? Well, it certainly looks like 1/2 is bigger than 1/5. 1/5 is smaller than 1/2. So if we look at that, do you see that? Just one of these fifths here compared to the whole one of the halves. Let's go over to our sidewalk here, and how are we going to write that? Well, 1/5 is smaller than 1/2, so that's going to be a less than sign. So the little bird mouth is going to go right here in the middle. Remember, we read that as less than. So 1/5 is less than 1/2. Boys and girls, here's a challenge for you. Can you make your own fraction tiles on your driveway with your chalk? Or you could do it on a piece of paper or a poster with crayon or something. It takes more thinking than you think, boys and girls. I just wanted to give you a little hint of what mine looks like. The sun's starting to go down, so I want to get this in the video. So let me see how much more I can get done. Well, third graders, the sun's under the cloud now, but what do you think? Not too bad, huh? It's more difficult than you think it is. So use your chart or your fraction bars with tiles, and then make your own sidewalk chalk version. I'm sure you guys can do it. Let's have a competition to see who can do the best. It's much more difficult than you think it is, boys and girls, because you have to get everything to line up right. You just can't throw them down. Your lines of eighths, 2/8, that second line here has to line up with your 1/4, okay? And your line of 1/2 there has to line up with your middle line of 1/4, and then also with your middle line of the eighth. Here's a better view from my ladder. What do you guys think? Not too bad, huh? So there you go. Well, boys and girls, that was a lot of fun. Now I'm challenging you to make your fraction bars with tiles, with your fraction tiles. So go for it. and have your parents send me a picture. I love to see them. So, I think we really should do that. If you don't have it on sidewalk chalk to do it, get a piece of paper and use crayons or colored pencils or markers or something like that. There you go. I said you can use markers. I hardly ever say that. So you can do it. Let's take a moment now, boys and girls, to take a look at some of our Seeds Behind Trees questions. We're going to go through this quick because that took a long time for me to do all that recording of those fraction tiles on my driveway. Okay, number one, boys and girls, we answered yesterday and we talked about the requirements that you should try to meet. So let's just review. Yesterday we said that number one was gray fire's limp seems to disappear as they move deeper into the forest. So we found that on page 58. Now the next one tells us where to look. On page 58 and 59, why did Seeds Behind Trees start to ask gray fire questions? So when you look on those pages, you can come to the conclusion that Seeds Behind Trees started to ask gray fire so many questions to help him get a better idea of the problem, period. You have to think back to what he said about Diver's problem. So you have to think about that one a little bit. Number three, what kind of person was Otter when she was young? Otter was a determined person who could not be denied. So we're going to use a proper noun and repeat some of the question in the answer. Number four, how did Seeds Behind Trees discover the strangers? Seeds Behind Trees discovered the strangers by using his listening skill. Number five, until this chapter, do you think Seeds Behind Trees has ever met anyone from outside his village? Why? Now, boys and girls, that might be a tricky one. You probably don't remember exactly what it is. I don't. So what do you have to do? You have to open your book up and look back in there and use your skimming and scanning skills. Third graders, you are just a few weeks away from being fourth graders, and that's what you're going to have to do in fourth grade. So you got to go back into the book and do some rereading. Do some skimming and scanning, find out where it is, and reread. And you can do it. You're really smart kids. Let's take a look at that. Boys and girls, as we look back into our book, we skim and scan and we find the word strangers. And that's a hint because you might have noticed that these questions go in order of the pages of the book. And the question right before this one was talking about strangers. So that's a hint right there. As we turn the page and continue to skim and scan, we see that there is this. Do you mean there are people besides us? Actual people? Suddenly, I didn't know anything for certain. Suddenly, anything was possible. It sounds like in this part of the book, Seeds Behind Trees is just absolutely amazed when he hears from Gray Fire about this word strangers. And there's actually people who live out in the world that don't live in his village. He thought he knew everyone. Wow, what an adventure for him. So boys and girls, enjoy working on your fraction tiles and have confidence that you can answer those questions about Seeds Behind Trees. You're all good readers, but it's going to take some effort to get into that book and follow along with the questions, find the answers and write them out in complete sentences. So you can do it. I know you can. And remember, as always, go Zephyrs!